Today on Comicstorian, Kingpin's going to go just a little too far. This is the Comicstorian channel where I take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. I take out a lot of the fluff, I cut out a lot of the extra B plots, and we just tell you what's going on in the world of comics. This allows you to know what's happening to your favorite superheroes, but also enables you to go out and get these issues for more context and more artwork. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. So today we're going to be continuing our coverage of Daredevil, a 37-issue run that we're doing in 2 to 3 issue blocks. When we last left off, Daredevil had accidentally killed a man and thought he was being framed. After discovering he actually did kill a man, he's been trying to figure out a way to repent, and his decision was to give up being Daredevil. Meanwhile, Kingpin is trying to be the mayor of New York and get out of the criminal life, but the criminal life keeps sucking him back in. And at the cliffhanger of our last episode, Elektra had finally showed up to find out what is going on with Matt Murdock. Today's going to be issues 11 and 12, and you'll see why I end on that note at the end of this. If you enjoy this, consider subscribing to our channel and hitting like, but let's go ahead and get into the first issue. She ran into the bedroom door, yelling that her boyfriend was crazy, that he needed to get help, that she called the police, but he kept pounding on the door, yelling that he was going to kill her, and he didn't see the silent devil crawling through the window, coming up behind him. The Daredevil wrapped his arm around the drug-addled man's throat, tightening it quickly. The man grunted, slamming the hero around the apartment, knocking over bookshelves and lamps, but he finally begins to black out as they slam out the door and into the hallway. Daredevil brings him to the ground, breathing heavily as the man goes limp in his grasp. He struggles to his feet, looking down the hallway to see a group of cops approaching. "It's okay. I won't put up a fight. I just wanted to help," he gasps. But the cops approach him quickly with their billy clubs, and everything goes dark for Daredevil. Meanwhile, Elektra pulls Matt Murdock up by his shirt. "You need help. Anyone can see that," she tells him, but he flips her off of him, demanding to know what she's doing back in the city. "You're going to die," she says simply as she launches at him, hitting him with a combo of blows that end with a knee to the stomach. He falls down, gasping for air. "You've grown soft. Stick trained us, but you've forgotten his teachings. I'm your stick now," she says as she steps towards the edge of the roof, leaping into the night air. Elsewhere in the city, Cole drives through the night with his new partner, and they watch quietly as a group of men begin to mug a nearby woman. Neither cop does anything. Cole's eyes are on the sky above, and that's when he sees a glimpse of a red and blue costume. "He's here! Everyone move in!" he shouts over the radio. "Oh boy, a classic mugging. It's nice to know that people still make time for the traditional crimes," Spider-Man says as he swings down, but all 3 civilians pull out their pistols, revealing they're all undercover police. "Now, now!" Cole yells, allowing the SWAT members to burst out of a nearby van, one of them pulling out a net launcher and firing, but it's Spider-Man. He easily leaps over it, still making quips. He jumps into the air, firing off his webs, closing and sealing the van doors. He then whirls, shooting more webs, trapping the cops' guns to their hands, not allowing them to shoot. Cole comes running up, drawing his own pistol. "Freeze! Face down on the ground!" he shouts, but Spider-Man cocks his head to the side as he stares at the cops. "Wait a second, I know you! Detective North," he says as he webs up Cole, lifting him into the sky, swinging away. "Let's go find a quiet spot without so many guns, 'cause we're gonna have a little chat." The next morning, Matt is walking through his neighborhood, and he stops at a local store where he managed to get his parolee, Joel Carraro, a job. The young man pulls up at the exact moment, passing by Matt, thanking him for the help, but barely making eye contact. He's nervous. His system is spiking. "He knows that I'm Daredevil," Matt thinks to himself, remembering that Joe was in the cell at the police station when he had to save Cole. Matt had no choice but to walk away. Meanwhile, at the local airport, Fisk's guards open up the trunk of his car, revealing a frightened Osley. The man is pulled free, his gag removed, as they bring him before Fisk. "Damn it, Fisk! What the hell is this?" he demands to know. "Shut up," Fisk says simply over his shoulder, telling Owlsy that he wants to send him on a trip. He turns around, reminding Osley that he's doing the opposite of what Fisk requested, fighting a war with the Libris family, running drugs through Hell's Kitchen. "Normally, I would kill you, but I'm feeling magnanimous today," Fisk tells him, informing him that he's going to send Owl to a private island where he can relax while Fisk fixes the situation, but Owl smiles. "No," he says simply, his talons working quickly on the ropes that bind his hands. I ain't going nowhere. You're out of the game, Wilson. Seems to me you have plans. Plans that could get derailed if your life is dragged into the light. He rips apart the ropes, quickly lashing out, slashing at the throat of Fisk's guards. With that, he leaps into the air and begins to fly away. It looks like you should start to play it safe, Mr. Mayor. But back with Spider-Man and Cole on a rooftop across the city. Cole is webbed up as Spider-Man continues to watch the sunrise. For the last time, what are we doing here? He asks, glaring at Spider-Man as the hero walks towards him, telling him that the vigilantes feel that they are above the law. You know what? Yeah, I kinda do. Happy now? Spider-Man tells him. And Spider-Man points out that there aren't really any laws for people who can do what he does, save people and wear a mask to protect the ones that they love. And he knows that Cole swore an oath. Well, so did I. So did we all. Sometimes we mess up, like your previous punching bag, Daredevil. But guess what? We solve it. He says, revealing that he told the Daredevil to hang up the tights, to give up being Daredevil, to stop fighting. But I won't let him rot in prison under Mayor Fisk. He's a hero. Spider-Man snaps, and he turns away, telling Cole, you need to start thinking about what's right and wrong. In an hour, my webbing's going to dissolve, which happens as Cole struggles again, pulling himself free, his gun in his hand. So you have a choice. Do you want to save lives, Detective Cole, or uphold the law? Nearby, Matt and Foggy are standing in line for lunch, talking about how Foggy helped Joe get out of jail that day, but his phone beeps and Matt steps aside. Mindy is on the other line asking if she can see Matt, as she feels trapped in her family's home due to the mob war. But Matt isn't listening anymore. He stretches out with his senses and he can feel that someone is in trouble. He realizes the one that is in trouble is Daredevil, tied to a chair, surrounded by the cops. Blood is dripping from his mouth as the cops are laughing and joking with him. One leans down, pushing Daredevil's chin up with his nightstick, reminding the hero that laws don't mean anything in the kitchen. And neither do you, neighborhood watch. The cop says with a smile to the man dressed as Daredevil. One of the other cops steps forward, asking if they're done so that he can start his shift. Not gonna be around for the cleanup, he tells the others. But they all pause in shock as they hear a knock at the door. They turn to the door, with one finally opening it, his pistol in his hand and out of sight. Who the hell are you? He asks as he sees a nervous Foggy standing in the hallway, cell phone put to his ear. Officer, I'm Michael Nelson, and you are unlawfully detaining my client. Foggy stammers, sweat pouring down his face as he explains to the cop that he is on the line with another lawyer who will call the police if he hears anything go wrong. He steps into the apartment looking at the gathered police and this tied-up Daredevil. Here's my solution. Untie my client and let us walk out of here and you will never see us again, he says, still sweating. The cops begin to uncuff the man, reminding Foggy, you are playing a dangerous game. Foggy nods, leading the man towards the door, but they're stopped by one of the cops who raises his pistol. Do me a favor, show me your phone. Foggy has no choice, showing him the phone, revealing that he's currently leaving a voicemail. Oh, you're dead, the cop hisses as he steps forward with his pistol. What he doesn't realize is that Matt is standing in the hallway just around the corner, his face covered by a t-shirt. Foggy is plan A, I'm plan B. Matt thinks to himself as he whirls around, grabbing the man's gun, pulling it from his grasp. He barrels into the other man, tackling him into the apartment as the other cops gasp in surprise. He's up and moving fast, nightsticks in his hand. One of the cops grabs him from behind, but he whirls around, throwing the nightstick, knocking another pistol out of the other cop's hand. He doesn't need to beat them, he just has to distract them long enough for Foggy and this other Daredevil to get out of the building. But the cop tightens his lock around Matt's throat. He can't breathe. He pushes back, they both go out the window, and Matt twists, knocking the cop away, quickly grabbing his cuffs, cuffing him to the fire escape. He hears the other cop shout as he heads up, running towards the roof. He needs to lure them away. Meanwhile, Fisk's car pulls up outside the mansion of the Stromwinds, the highly influential billionaires that the governor has set him up with. He turns to Wesley, his aide, who is trying to prepare him, but he holds his hand up to stop the man. Wesley, we're here. We've earned it. The only preparation now is to exist, to recognize this new phase and embrace it. He tells his aide and friend. Wesley smiles as he watches Fisk step out of the car and walk up the steps of the mansion. He's led through the house until they reach the salon and are introduced to the Stromwinds and the other guests. Thank you for inviting me, Quinn. I'm looking forward to this, he tells Quinn Stromman after they're introduced. Fisk smiles to the others as he's led into the next room and introduced to everyone at the table. Meanwhile, back with Matt Murdock. I'm not trapped. I can jump rooftop to rooftop and get away easy. I used to be Daredevil. but he turns, still able to hear Foggy and the other Daredevil moving through the building. Why is he still in the building? He turns as the others come out of the stair access, rushing forward. Sensing another gun and having nothing to throw, he listens. Sensing the man's aim and trigger placement, he dodges as the round goes past him. But he can sense it go through a window across from him. He can sense a mother and child screaming in fear. He's amongst the cops now, kicking and punching, trying to block the blows that are raining down upon him. But there are too many, and they begin to bring down Matt Murdock. Kicks raining down on him as he tries to block his face, his vitals. They don't fear me, he thinks to himself. At the Stromwinds, Fisk continues to cut into his food as the rich people around him continue to talk about how they are secretly running things. The conversation turns to him, and Tyler begins to make a small suggestion about Fisk's rise to power and past. Ty, don't insult our guests, Quinn reminds his friend. But Fisk waves the comments away, explaining that since taking office, he has begun to diversify his empire into more legitimate businesses. Several more comments are then made, but one of the guests finally asks Wilson if he's ever personally killed a man. Fisk pauses for a moment as he regards the group, but Quinn puts a hand up. All right, that's enough. This man is the mayor. Please show him the respect that the position deserves. Agreed. Frankly, I'm intrigued by your legal marijuana push, one of the other guests asks. Fisk smiles, explaining that he has bought up several farms around the state and brought the best minds in to cultivate the weed business, pushing for it to become legal in New York. The others aren't so sure, as some of their businesses work better if weed is illegal. More jokes are passed around at Fisk's expense until he finally pushes away from the table, requesting the location of the nearest washroom. Down the hall and to the left, and again, I apologize for my guest's rudeness, Mayor, Quinn tells him as he points. Fisk leaves the room, but he can still hear them talking about him, making their jabs, making jokes about him. The Kingpin is nothing but a joke. And anger begins to fill up inside of him. Meanwhile, back with Matt Murdock, he looks up, his sense telling him that the other Daredevil and Foggy have joined the fight instead of running. There are still too many cops, and one of the officers attacks the other Daredevil, about to knock him off the building. No, nobody dies! Matt thinks to himself as he rushes forward, grabbing the guy's leg before he can plummet to the street below. But he can't defend himself now. The cops are surrounding him, kicks and punches, slamming into his face. And then, they're gone. Matt looks up to sense Elektra standing over him. Everyone's down. There's nothing sadder than a man that won't admit that he needs help. Elektra tells him with a sigh as she pulls the other Daredevil back onto the roof. You didn't kill them, did you? Matt gasps as she shakes her head, telling him that she wanted to prove to him that it could be done, that she can show him the other way. Train with me, she says, holding out her hand, and Matt pauses for a moment before taking it. Meanwhile, back with Wilson, he looks at himself in the mirror before splashing water on his face. These people, he knows it's just a new game, one that he has to play. He dries his face, reminding himself that he is in control, and then there's a knock at the door as he opens it to reveal Tyler, the man grinning at him. I assume there's still a working toilet in here? He asks, still ribbing Fisk on. He keeps talking. He keeps joking. He keeps thinking that he can say what he wants to the Kingpin. And Fisk's hand suddenly snaps out, grabbing him by the throat, dragging him into the bathroom as the man gasps for air. A look of terror fills his eyes as Fisk's fists come down again and again. It's over fast, and Fisk finally stares down at all the blood and shock, and the body that he stuffed into the tub. And there you have it. I told you, this is 37 issues. There's no way I'm going to be able to do it in one episode. So I really enjoy you guys who are sticking it out and watching every single episode of this Daredevil series. It just gets more and more incredible. I'm not even joking. Hit that subscribe button. Join us for the next episode because this is just going to keep getting better and better. It's just so good, and I have so much fun recording this one. So I really hope you guys stick it out. I hope you guys are enjoying this, and I'll see you next time right here at Comic Story.